Welcome to Zoe Stories. My aunt's bet made me her niece. I never thought a silly family bet could change the course of my entire life. My name is Ryan, 24 years old, quiet by nature, reserved, and often lost in my own head. By day, I work as a freelance graphic designer, a job that keeps me glued to my laptop in my small apartment. I like routines. Coffee at 9, work by 10, and silence by 11. No office, no dress code, no one breathing down my neck. Just me and my secrets. From the outside, everything about me looks normal. I've been dating Emma for the past 3 years, the kind of girl who could walk into any room and own it without saying a word. She's confident, elegant, and effortlessly beautiful. Everything I'm not. She likes taking selfies. I hate cameras. She enjoys parties. I freeze in crowds. But despite our differences, we've built something comfortable. Or, at least I thought we had. Lately, though, there's been a distance growing between us. She's been working longer hours, and I've been disappearing into my own world more and more. A world that Emma doesn't know about. A world full of satin, lace, and lipstick. It started years ago. I don't even remember the first time I wore women's clothes. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was something deeper. All I know is that when I slipped into that soft camisole and ran my fingers along the fabric, something inside me clicked. It wasn't just about the clothes. It was about the feeling of being someone else, of letting go of the rigid version of me the world expected. But I've kept it hidden. Always. In the quiet corners of my life, late at night, behind locked doors. Because what would Emma think if she found out? What would anyone think? The only person who even remotely suspects anything is my Aunt Julia. And even then, it's not because she knows the truth. It's because she's the type to pick up on subtle things. Sharp eyes. A sharper tongue. A woman in her 40s with expensive heels, stronger opinions, and no filter whatsoever. She's the fun aunt. The one who still parties, still flirts, and still thinks the world revolves around a perfect dress and a perfect bet. Every time she visits, she finds some way to mess with me. Her favorite phrase? God, Ryan, you have made a prettier niece than a nephew. At first, I thought she was joking. But then came the bet. It was last weekend, during brunch at her place. Emma was there too. The three of us sipping mimosas and making small talk when Aunt Julia leaned back, looked me dead in the eyes, and said with a smirk, "Let's make a bet, darling. If I win, you spend one full weekend at my house, as my niece. Hair, heels, makeup, the works." The table went silent. Emma laughed, brushing it off like some ridiculous joke. I laughed too, nervously. But Julia wasn't smiling. Her eyes were daring me, taunting me. She knew how uncomfortable it made me, and that's exactly why she said it. But the worst part? A piece of me wanted to say yes. There was a thrill in the idea. A challenge. A terrifying possibility. I couldn't tell whether she was serious or not, but the thought of Emma discovering my secret in front of Julia, or worse, laughing at me, made my stomach twist into knots. I didn't respond. I just sipped my drink and changed the subject. But Julia never forgets a challenge. And 2 days later, I got a message. "Pack your bags, sweetheart. I won. You're my niece this weekend. Don't make me come get you." I stared at the screen for a full minute. Was this a joke? Was she bluffing? Did she know? Emma hadn't mentioned anything about it since. Maybe she thought it was just one of Julia's drunk dares. But now I had a choice: pretend it never happened and ghost Julia for life, or show up. Something inside me wouldn't let me ignore it. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe I was tired of hiding. From her. From Emma. From myself. But could I really go through with it? Let someone see me that way, dressed up, made up, vulnerable, and exposed? It was one thing to wear a pair of panties in secret. This was something else entirely. I spent the night staring at my reflection in the mirror. My face, sharp and masculine, stared back at me like a stranger. I tried to imagine myself transformed, makeup softening my angles, a wig framing my face, a dress hugging my body. Would I still be me? Or someone else? And if Emma found out, really found out, Would she walk away? Or would she finally understand who I am? The clock ticked past midnight. I picked up my phone, took a deep breath, and texted Julia back.
Fine.
I'll be there Friday, but you better have makeup that matches my skin tone. Her reply came instantly. Don't worry, sweetheart. You're going to look gorgeous. Lipstick, high-heeled shoe. My heart pounded as I stared at those words. Gorgeous. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid of Julia, but because a part of me was excited. And that scared me more than anything. The Friday afternoon sun hung heavy over the sky as I stood outside my aunt's massive townhouse, suitcase in hand, my heart thudding like a war drum. The house was just like her, elegant, dramatic, and impossible to ignore. White walls, black iron gates, and a red door that practically screamed, "You're not getting out of this, darling." I paused for a moment before ringing the bell. My mind was spinning. What was I doing here? This was insane. I could still leave. Go back home. Block her number. Pretend the text never happened. But I didn't move. I rang the bell. Within seconds, the door swung open. Julia stood there in a deep blue silk robe, holding a glass of wine, her lips painted red like a warning sign. Well, well, the prodigal nephew arrives. Or should I say niece in training? I forced a smile. Let's just get this over with. She chuckled and stepped aside, motioning me in. Oh, honey, this isn't something we get over with. This is something we become. The inside of her house smelled like perfume and candles. Everything was pristine, curated. A world completely opposite from my one-bedroom apartment filled with leftover takeout and sweatpants. On the hallway table sat a shopping bag.
Gucci.
Next to it, a tall pink box tied with a ribbon. I didn't ask what was inside. Guest room's ready, Julia said casually, leading me upstairs. Bathroom stocked. Closet's been updated. But first, she turned and flashed a grin. We need to take your before photo. I froze. You're kidding. Absolutely not, she replied, pulling out her phone. This is the start of your transformation, sweetheart. We need to document it. I started to protest, but she was already snapping away. Come on, stand up straight. At least look miserable in high definition.
Click.
She reviewed the photos like she was building a portfolio.
Perfect.
You look like a scared little deer. Now come on, let's get you settled. We start tonight. The guest room had been modified. Gone were the neutral tones and hotel-style sheets. In their place was a vanity mirror rimmed with lights, a closet filled with dresses, skirts, blouses, and lingerie, all in my size. The bed was covered in soft pink satin sheets. On the nightstand sat a pair of size 11 heels, glossy nude pumps. Perfect fit. I had to do some guesswork, Julia said behind me, watching my reaction. You're a bit broader than I expected, but nothing a good cincher can't handle. I turned to her, my face burning. You've been planning this?
Oh, darling.
Ever since you were 13 and got nervous when I left you alone in my closet.
My throat went dry.
You knew? She raised a brow. I suspected. And now I know. I sat on the bed, overwhelmed. Why are you doing this? She sat beside me. Because, Ryan, I think you've spent your entire life being scared of yourself. And because you need a little push. Consider this my gift or punishment, depending on how you see it. I didn't know whether to thank her or run. Tonight, she said softly, you'll meet Riley. I blinked. Who? She smiled. Your niece persona. The you that's been hiding. The one I'm going to bring out. The name struck something deep inside me. Riley. I didn't hate it. Julia wasted no time. She poured us both wine, played soft music, and brought out a black leather makeup kit the size of a suitcase. Strip, she said casually, setting brushes on the vanity. I hesitated. What? You want the illusion to work, don't you? That means starting from scratch. No shame here, sweetie. I turned away, undressed slowly, each movement reminding me of how vulnerable I was. By the time I was in my boxers, she handed me a soft pink robe. It smelled like roses. Now sit, she said, gently pulling me into the vanity chair. She began with moisturizer, primer, then foundation, working methodically like an artist painting a portrait. Her fingers were surprisingly gentle. As the layers of makeup built up, my features softened. "Look at you," she whispered, applying eyeliner with the precision of a surgeon. "You've always had such pretty eyes. We just needed to give them a stage." A wig came next, shoulder-length, silky chestnut waves. Then breast forms, carefully fitted into a lacy push-up bra. Then came the corset.
Tight.
Suffocating. She laced it up behind me as I gripped the chair. "Breathe in," she said. I obeyed. Snap. She cinched it tighter. Then came the outfit, a lavender blouse, sheer at the sleeves, tucked into a high-waisted black skirt. She handed me the heels. I slipped into them, awkwardly at first, then stood slowly. Unsteady, vulnerable, beautiful. She handed me a mirror, and I gasped. Staring back at me wasn't Ryan. It was Riley. My cheekbones popped. My eyes shimmered. My lips glowed. I didn't look like a joke. I looked real. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. "You okay?" Julia asked, softer this time. I nodded, eyes glued to the reflection. "I don't know."
She sat beside me.
"You're terrified. That's good. Means you care." "What now?" I asked. She smiled. "Now we walk downstairs. In heels.
And drink wine.
Like ladies." My legs trembled, but I stood, and I took the first step. Later that evening, after 2 glasses of wine and hours of trying to walk like I wasn't impersonating Bambi, I found myself back in the guest room. Alone.
Still dressed.
Still Riley. The mirror across the room reflected every inch of me, from my curled hair to my shaved legs. I should have taken it all off. Instead, I sat on the bed, hands folded on my lap, my mind spinning. There was a knock. Julia entered, holding her phone. "Emma just texted. She says she might stop by Sunday night." My stomach dropped. "You didn't?" "No, of course not. But you might want to be careful. The game's real now, sweetheart." And with that, she left. I was alone. And I didn't want to change back. Saturday morning came fast. Too fast. I woke up tangled in satin sheets, still wearing the lavender blouse and skirt. My bra strap had slipped off one shoulder. My lipstick was smudged. The wig had shifted just slightly, enough to feel like a reminder. You're not yourself anymore. But maybe I was. I stood up, feet still aching from the heels, and walked slowly toward the vanity mirror. Riley stared back. My makeup was a mess, but she was still there. Still me. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Julia knocked once, then walked in carrying a tray. Coffee. 2 sugars. And a to-do list. She set the tray down and looked me over. "Still dressed? Impressive. Either you passed out or you're getting attached." I said nothing. She smirked. "Today's important. We're going to test how real Riley can be." "What do you mean?" "I mean I invited someone over. A friend.
She knows nothing about you.
If you want to keep your secrets, you better be flawless." My stomach clenched. "You said this was just between us."
It is.
But what's the point of creating Riley if she can't survive a single conversation? I took the coffee, my hands shaking slightly. "You're insane. And you're pretty. Let's go." This time, the process felt different. Less shocking. Almost familiar. Julia handed me fresh clothes, a soft beige turtleneck sweater, a pleated plaid skirt, black tights, and knee-high boots with a modest heel. She'd even left out a padded coat with a little faux fur trim. We're going for cozy, feminine, and approachable. Riley's not just a showpiece. She's a girl who brunches. This time, I did my own foundation. Applied my own lip gloss. And when Julia handed me the wig, now brushed, styled, and sprayed, I slipped it on without flinching. She watched me in silence. "Look at you," she said quietly. "You're becoming her." I didn't respond, but a part of me whispered, "I already am." Her name was Vanessa.
Blonde.
Sharp.
Confident.
She walked in like she owned the house, hugged Julia tightly, and gave me a once-over. "And who's this?" "My niece," Julia replied smoothly. "She's visiting for the weekend." "Riley, this is Vanessa. She's a stylist. Former model. Scary as hell." Vanessa raised a brow and extended a manicured hand. "Pleasure, Riley." I shook it carefully.
Hi.
"Nice to meet you." She looked me up and down. "You're very refined. For a teenager." Julia laughed. "She's always been a little elegant." "You remind me of myself at your age," Vanessa said with a teasing smile. Awkward, unsure, but dying to be seen. My heart raced. Did she know?
She didn't act like it.
"Well, come on," Julia said. "Let's have mimosas. I want to talk about Riley's look." We sat in the sunroom, music playing softly in the background, glasses filled with orange and champagne. I sat with my legs crossed, hands delicately folded, nodding when appropriate, sipping when nervous. "So, Riley," Vanessa said, "tell me, do you prefer skirts or jeans?" I blinked. Skirts, I think. They just feel more at me." "Good answer," she said, eyes twinkling. "You've got nice legs. Show them off." Julia beamed. "She's still learning," Julia added. "But she's a fast learner." Vanessa tilted her head. "You're shy. That's good. But you'll have to learn to own a room, sweetheart. Being pretty isn't enough. You have to command." I nodded. "I'll try." "Don't try."
Do.
That afternoon blurred into a haze of fashion talk, posture correction, and unsolicited advice. By the end of it, I was emotionally exhausted, but I'd passed. Vanessa left without a hint of suspicion. "You did it," Julia whispered once the door shut. I collapsed into a chair. "That was awful. That was real. You survived your first real moment as Riley." I stared at the floor. "How did I do?" Julia paused. "You were nervous. Polite. Beautiful. You passed." "So what now?" She smirked. "Now we raise the stakes." That night, I lay in bed, scrolling through Instagram on a fake profile Julia had created for Riley. It was filled with photos, me in soft lighting, turned away from the camera, makeup perfect, smile subtle. Comments were already trickling in from her network of friends. "She's gorgeous." "That's your niece." "Stunning." "I want her coat." I felt a strange mix of pride and panic. I wanted to keep scrolling, keep being seen, keep existing. But then the door creaked open. Julia walked in holding her phone. Emma texted again. I froze. "She's coming tomorrow. For dinner." Silence. "You said." I said I wouldn't tell her. I haven't. But if she walks through that door and sees Ryan, she'll know something's wrong. I sat up. "You want her to meet Riley?" Julia nodded. "You don't have a choice anymore." My chest tightened. "She'll know." "Not if you commit. Fully."
Hair. Voice.
Mannerisms. Everything. Riley has to be real, or we both burn. I stared at her. Then I looked back at the mirror. Riley stared too.
Sunday.
5:52 p.m. The air was thick with perfume and panic. Julia had laid out a spread worthy of a magazine. Artisan bread, hand-tossed salad, wine chilling in a crystal decanter. Every candle flickered like a countdown. I paced the hallway in a slate-gray knit dress that hugged my body too well. It had long sleeves and a flared hemline that brushed just above my knees. The tights were opaque, black, and mercilessly warm. The heels, pointed and modest, made my steps careful and slow. The wig had been styled into soft waves. The makeup? Minimal but flawless. Riley was elegant.
Polished.
Utterly feminine. And terrified. "You need to breathe," Julia said, adjusting the neckline of my dress. "She won't recognize you if you don't act like you belong in that skin." "This is insane," I whispered. "What if she sees it? What if she knows?" "Then don't give her a reason to look that closely."
The doorbell rang.
I froze. "Smile," Julia whispered. And then she opened the door. Emma looked radiant. Casual but glowing, with her hair pulled back into a loose braid and wearing a long cardigan over jeans. Her smile was instant. Warm, familiar, devastating. "Hey, Jules." They hugged. I couldn't move. Then her eyes shifted, landed on me. And who's this? Julia placed a hand on my lower back, urging me forward. Emma, this is Riley, my niece. She's staying for a few weeks. Emma extended a hand. Nice to meet you. I shook it with trembling fingers. Hi. You too. Our eyes locked. Something flickered in hers. Curiosity, then confusion, then dismissal. You're stunning, she said politely. I forced a smile. Thanks. You remind me of someone, she added, squinting. Can't place who. My pulse pounded. Julia jumped in. Probably some influencer. Riley's got that look, very now, right? Emma laughed.
Definitely.
You've got the cheekbones I'd kill for. I exhaled quietly. We sat around the dining table.
Julia poured wine.
I kept my hands neatly folded in my lap, praying my voice wouldn't betray me. So, Riley, Emma asked casually, what do you do? I'm between things right now, thinking about design school. She nodded.
Cool.
Fashion? Maybe, I said, sipping wine too fast. I like textures. Movement. Making things beautiful. She smiled. That makes sense. You've got the eye. Julia beamed across the table. I told her she could be a model. Emma's gaze lingered on me. You really do remind me of someone, she said again. I coughed. I get that a lot. Yeah, same eyes. Same way of tilting your head. She took another bite of salad. It's weird. My hands went clammy. By dessert, things had settled. Laughter filled the room. Julia was telling some ridiculous story about college, and Emma was leaning back in her chair, glass in hand, completely at ease. You two look close, I said quietly to Emma, trying to deflect. We are. She's like my chaos twin. I've known her longer than I've known some of my cousins. Must be nice, having someone like that.
Yeah. She looked at me.
You remind me of him, too. I blinked.
Who?
My ex. The words hit like a slap. He was sweet, smart, secretive. I swallowed. Secretive. Yeah. Her voice softened, like there was always something he wanted to say, but never could. What happened? Emma sighed. I don't really know. One day, everything just cracked open. Truth spilled out. And then he was gone. I stared at her, throat dry. Do you miss him? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Every day. Later, Emma helped Julia clean the dishes while I stood outside on the patio, trying to pull myself together. I stared at the reflection in the window, the long-haired girl in heels, the soft dress hugging delicate curves. That was me now. Riley. A ghost with a heartbeat. And then, a sound behind me.
Emma.
She stepped outside, a wine glass in her hand. Mind if I join you? I shook my head. We stood in silence for a moment. You're different, she said.
How?
Most girls your age are so performative. You're restrained. Like you're carrying something heavy. My stomach turned. Just life, I muttered. She chuckled. Aren't we all? Then she reached forward suddenly, brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. I froze.
It's funny, she said.
Up close, you look so much like him. I couldn't breathe. It's the jawline. He always hated it, said it made him feel exposed. She stepped back, studying me. You're not him. I know that. But I turned away. I should go in.
Sure.
She didn't stop me, but I felt her eyes on my back the whole way in. That night, Julia poured herself a glass of scotch and sat at the foot of my bed. She almost figured it out. I know. And you didn't break. I'm proud of you. This has gone far enough. She looked at me, cold, calculating. You think this is the end? It should be. Julia stood up. You think Riley can disappear now? After all this? I stayed silent. You don't get to run anymore. This isn't dress up. This is transformation. And whether you like it or not, she's part of you now. I whispered, what if I don't want her to be?
She leaned in.
Too late. Tuesday evening. The apartment was quiet. Emma had texted. You free tonight? Drinks at the Velvet Room. Just us. Just us. Julia read the message before I could hide it. You're going. It's a trap. Then make sure you don't trip. She tossed me a blood-red dress, sleeveless, daring, backless. Wear this. It's too much. Not for Riley. I stared at the garment, feeling a knot form in my throat. She's suspicious. And tonight, you prove her wrong. I hesitated. Or what? Julia's voice was ice. Or Riley disappears, permanently. And you don't get a choice in what's left. Dim lights. Velvet curtains. Everything smelled like perfume, sweat, and secrets. Emma was already seated at the bar, wearing leather pants and a white silk blouse. She looked stunning, confident, sharp. I walked in, heels clicking like gunshots. Her eyes widened, just for a moment.
Wow.
You clean up dangerously well. You said drinks, I said softly, slipping onto the stool beside her. So I came. I'm glad you did. We clinked glasses. Bourbon. It burned going down. So, she said, turning slightly, want to tell me who you really are? My stomach dropped. Excuse me? I've been polite, she said, voice soft but steady. But it's driving me insane. I swallowed. You look like him. Sound like him sometimes. But you walk like you've been doing it forever. I laughed nervously. I think you've had too much to drink. Maybe, but my gut doesn't lie. Silence. Then she leaned in. Are you wearing his skin? I nearly dropped my glass. What did you just say? She pulled back slightly. Her face wasn't angry. It was sad. If you're pretending to be someone else, if this is some sick joke. It's not. Then tell me who you are. I stood up, wobbling in my heels. I have to go. She reached for me. Don't run. But I already was. I burst into the apartment. Julia was waiting, glass in hand. She knows. Of course she does. You set me up. She smirked. I gave you a test. You failed. You said I could choose. That was before Riley made a mess. She took a sip of wine. Time to clean it up.
How?
By vanishing. My blood ran cold. You want me to leave? No, darling. She walked toward me. I want him to disappear. Permanently. You're insane. She held up a small bag, cosmetics, hair dye, hormone patches. This is your future. All wrapped up in silk and chemicals. I'm not doing this. Then I'll show Emma who you really are. And let her decide what kind of freak you are. I backed away. You're a monster. No, she said, placing the bag on the table. I'm your sculptor. I texted Emma. Meet me. One last time. We met in a park. Quiet.
Late.
Cold wind in our hair. I wore no makeup. Just jeans and a hoodie. My real voice cracked when I spoke. It's me. She stared for a long time. I knew it. I never meant to lie. Julia, she tricked me. Blackmailed me. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Emma's face was unreadable. You played me. Pretended to be someone else. And yet, she stepped closer. I felt something. Real. So did I. Tears ran down my cheeks. I'm not even sure who I am anymore. Then let me help you figure out. She touched my cheek. I don't care who you were. I care who you're becoming. I collapsed into her arms. I don't want to be her. But I don't know how to be him anymore. Then be neither. What? Be you. I packed at dawn. The red dress lay folded in the corner. The wigs, the makeup, the heels, all boxed. Julia slept soundly. I left a note. You turned me into someone else. But I found something better than what you gave me, choice. I'm done playing your game. I slipped out the door. 3 weeks later. New city. New name. New beginning. I wasn't Riley. Not exactly. But I wasn't him either. I found a job at a design shop. I wore what felt right. Some days that meant dresses. Some days jeans. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. Emma texted every day. Sometimes she called me beautiful. Sometimes she called me brave. One night she asked, "Who are you now?" I stared at the mirror.
Soft face.
Bold eyes. Shorter hair. Bare skin. I typed, "Someone real," and hit send.